Welcome on into the Wolverine.com podcast. Clayton Safey here with Chris Ballas and Anthony Broom. On Thursday, August 28th, we're Blake Corum, Charles Woodson, Will Johnson, many more days away from the Wolverines kicking off the season. We're going to preview Michigan against New Mexico, which will be Saturday night. If you're watching on YouTube, drop us a comment with your final score prediction for Michigan, New Mexico. Any other thoughts that you have, like the video. If you're watching on YouTube and you're excited for the season, hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel as well. And always head to thewolverine.com. We got all of your coverage all season long over there. You can use the promo code UM1 right now for 2 months of premium access for just $1. 50 cents a month over the next 2 months for all of your Michigan football, basketball, recruiting coverage that you can handle over at thewolverine.com. Guys, we're 2 days away. It's exciting. Let me start with this. Your favorite thing about a season opener, when you get back into your routine, you get back at it, especially a home game, you get to see, maybe factions of people you haven't seen in a while, and you get to walk into that stadium. When you see that green turf, that might be the best part for me, but what's the best part for you on opening day?
Yeah, I was thinking about this, and number one, the people that you tailgate with every year, and you get to see them. Some of the people that you haven't seen for a year is a blast, right? And it's been going on for decades now for my family, and we've lost some people, we've added some people, but the same thing. It's just like family, right? And I really, more than anything, I love that first snap and the buzz in the air, right? When the offense comes out, you're going to have Bryce Underwood there, and there's going to be a buzz in the crowd when he comes under center for the first time, and just seeing what this team looks like for the first time and having football back more than anything, Michigan football back, because you know what? The season goes so fast. It's only 3 months out of the year, unless, you go on a long run in the playoffs, which is kind of what we've become accustomed to. And I think we will be getting used to again in the near future. But to have that those butterflies in your stomach for a big game, this is not going to be one of those, but it's still exciting to see what this team is going to be. It's all of it. There's something to be said for fall being the best season of the year. I love my summers now more than ever, guys, the older I get, but there's something about a fall football Saturday that nothing compares to.
I think for me, it's just the fact that it's the first everything. It's the first drive you make into town of the year. It's the first time you're going to park where you are and you're walking to the stadium and you see the sights, you see the flags, you smell the hot dogs, the hamburgers, whatever people are making on the grill. Like Chris said, you see friends you haven't seen in a while. You see subscribers that you haven't seen since last year. And then, for me, I think of even with what last year was, you look back to the opener, it was a night game just like this one will be. And the buzz in the crowd, there was a buzz, there was a palpable sort of like atmosphere around, even with an opponent that you should blow the brakes off of. Just a shared collective excitement that we're all back there and we get to be there, and we get to be there a few less times this year because they have 6 home games, 6 road games, and there's not. I feel like we usually get about 3 weeks to 5 weeks where we're driving into Ann Arbor every Saturday. It's going to be a little bit different and maybe in some ways a little more special because the time between trips there will be a little less frequent. But just getting back there, getting into that battle rhythm is something I always look forward to.
Yeah, and sitting next to your brothers, right? We've been together for a long time now, and when something good happens and punching Clay Safey in the thigh or something,
I'm still bruised on the.
We can't cheer when we're up there, but that doesn't mean that we can't show a little appreciation for a good play or something like that. So seeing John Borton up there for another year, a lot of our colleagues that are still there that we really enjoy and appreciate. There's only a couple that are complete tools that we don't want to see up there, but for the most part, I can't help myself. But for the most part, seeing all those people again and just being up there, and even the road games, guys, are amazing. I can't wait to go to Oklahoma and celebrate, fellas. We're going to have a blast. So it's going to be a great year for road games, and we're going to be at a lot of these together as well. Just going to Wrigley Field for the Northwestern game is going to be fantastic. So can't wait, guys. Cannot wait till Saturday. Can't wait till tonight to watch a lot of great football games.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What is
I'm
it?
really fired up for Rutgers against Ohio. I think the Bobcats have a chance to cover in that game. But
Yeah, and screw the Big Ten. You remember how everybody used to say, "Oh, I root for the Big Ten. They can all kiss my ass." After everything that we've gone through the last several years.
I was already on that train. I never rooted for the Big Ten.
I hope they all lose and fail miserably, with the exception maybe of I don't know who were some of the guys that weren't opening their big mouths. I want to see Nebraska go down, with all due respect to Gunther.
PJ Fleck.
I hope they get their butts kicked tonight. So, yeah, PJ Fleck doesn't bother me anymore. In fact, he's one of my favorites. So all the other ones can go straight to hell.
I love it. We're starting off the season strong. Well, let's talk about Michigan, New Mexico here. We'll break it down. Michigan, a huge favorite. Obviously, we'll focus a little bit more on the Wolverines this week than usually dive in. For those of us joining us for the first year, welcome. Usually dive into the opponents quite a bit. And we got some facts on the Lobos as well. But this one, 7:36 p.m. is the official kickoff time. So, you got an extra time at 7:30. Grab that extra drink or whatever. You got 6 minutes over on NBC. First meeting ever between the Wolverines and the Lobos. Michigan has won 9 of their last 11 season openers. The only losses at Utah in 2015, at Notre Dame in 2018. Michigan's 14-1 against Mountain West programs at the time that the game was played. 13-0 against Mountain West programs that are currently in that conference. New Mexico, meanwhile, 0-2 against the Big Ten. Lost to Wisconsin in 2018, Rutgers in 2016. So it is very much a different age, because as I was asking Sharon Moore a question on Monday about how many new players New Mexico has and how tough it is going to be to prepare in a certain sense for this team, he said it's nuts. Just how many new faces they have. A lot of those guys coming over with head coach Jason Eck from Idaho, a bunch of transfers, including their starting quarterback, Jack Lane. A lot of the staff is the same. The offensive coordinator came over from Idaho. The defensive coordinator did not. He comes from Memphis. But it is interesting, guys, that openers are always kind of crazy, but now you really, again, New Mexico, it doesn't matter as much because Michigan's a huge favorite, but there are just so many new players out there at new places in college football that this week one is going to be kind of crazy. And New Mexico is a great example of that because they have so much turnover.
Yeah. Who's the one loss, by the way, the Mountain West Conference loss?
It was actually Utah before they moved over. Yeah.
Yep. Michigan's had trouble with them.
They lost all 3. So they scheduled 3 games against Utah.
Yeah.
They lost to Utah all 3 and under 3 different Michigan head coaches. Kind of weird.
It's crazy. It is weird. So, but yeah, you know what? Here's the thing. And I just wrote the keys to the game. I'm going to be putting it up shortly. But when you're looking at a game like this, and it's not so much the keys to a win, but it's what you want to see in an opener, right? When it's an overmatched opponent. And some of the things that I wrote about were, number one, you want to see clean offensive line play, right? You want to see these guys not missing assignments, things that translate from game to game, right? Opening huge holes against an overmatched opponent up front. For the backs, because you've got a couple explosive backs. I'd love to see some more explosive plays. Winning your one-on-one battles, if you're Evan Link and Andrew Sprague on the outside especially, to show that you can do it against better competition. If there are really only negative things, in my opinion, that you can learn in a game like this, and it's like, okay, if we're having problems with these guys in this area, for example, the pass protection, that does not bode well for better opponents like Oklahoma the following week, right? Turnover-free games, you're going to see Bryce Underwood make some mistakes. You're hoping that you don't see like a 3-pick game like J.J. McCarthy had against Bowling Green, for example, in his first game. You're hoping to see him make better decisions with the ball, not force it. And again, he's not perfect. He's going to throw some. He's going to throw some picks. He's going to make some mistakes. So, and then defensively, I really have. You know what? I don't have any concern about these guys. But if you see some breakdowns, for example, in the secondary or some miscommunications or some things like that, then those are things that might concern you. But I think this is a good football team in a lot of ways. And the question marks are the things that we will be able to determine, at least in part, on Saturday, right? No dead ball penalties on offense, things like that. You want to see clean things like that. If we see that, then I'm going to be pretty encouraged about that Oklahoma game the following week. So, but again, I can't wait to see it. The fact that we have to wait all day, guys, I know you guys like the night games and we're going to be able to watch some football, but it is hard to wait watch your team after you've been waiting all week as it is. You're going to see a ton of games on Thursday, a couple games on Friday. So, you know what? It'll be fun, though. Can't wait to get out there and see what these guys have.
Yeah, for the record, I'm not for night games. I go to bed at like 10 o'clock now. So it's going to be a couple coffees in me probably at the stadium. But yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, in games like this, when you're, I believe at last glance, Michigan is a 34.5-point favorite. You know, this is, I don't even need you to cover that number, but I think how it looks is important. You know, last year, if you think back to Fresno State, Mikey Keene, shout out Mikey Keene. Maybe he's back in the mix in the backup quarterback at some point, but you know, they were driving in the fourth quarter with a chance to make that a one-score game with, I think, 5 or 6 minutes left before Will Johnson returned that for a pick six. And ultimately you walk out of there with a 20-point win. But I don't know that any of us felt good about what we saw that night, you know, especially, again, showdown game in week 2. It's different this time around because you're going down to Oklahoma, and this Oklahoma team's not as good as that Texas team was. But I think it's really important, like you said, with the offensive line, you're not seeing missed assignments. It looks operationally, it looks crisp. You've got, you know, sound decisions coming from the sideline. You've got guys that are where they're supposed to be. And it is week 1 too. It's not going to be perfect. There will be mistakes. This team will look much different in November than it does on August 30th. But I think with the offseason they put in and the pieces or the things that they did to address what ailed them last year, specifically on the offensive side of the ball, you can deal with some mistakes, but it has to look functional. It has to look like something you can build on. And we never saw that with their offense last year. So to me, I mean, it's more kind of pass-fail this week in that regard. Does it look functional, and are they as ready as they can be for the trip to Oklahoma?
Yeah, and just kind of a weird deal with this game because both teams had to watch film of all sorts of different teams to get ready. You got to watch film of the transfer guys coming in on the, for each team. You had to watch film, if you're New Mexico, of the North Carolina offense where coordinator Chip Lindsey was the last couple of years. If you're Michigan, you watched a lot of Idaho film. You had to watch some New Mexico. You had to watch some Memphis. So it is kind of an interesting game. I think that New Mexico made a really good hire here. They were put in a tough spot a year ago. Bronco Mendenhall, who was the head coach at BYU, the head coach at Virginia for a while, comes out of retirement to take the job at New Mexico. And because he had some family ties there, I think he might have had a home there or something like that. Okay, sweet. They got this coach who's been, Power 4 coach and all this. And then he leaves after a year for a school in their own conference at Utah State. Now, Utah State's going to the Pac-12, and New Mexico's not. So there is a little bit of a difference there, and that's happening in 2026. But they make this hire with Jason Eck, who his Idaho team in the FCS last year goes to Oregon in week 1 last season. They lose 24-14, but that was a 3-point game with less than 6 minutes to go. They ran 2 trick plays that ended up in touchdowns, a kind of a double flea flicker type of play. And then another play where Jack Lane, the quarterback for New Mexico this year, but who was at Idaho, lined up as a running back and took a handoff, looked to throw, ran it in for a touchdown. So you got to expect some weird stuff from Jason Eck, 47-year-old former Wisconsin offensive lineman who played at the Big House and I think coached there as well when he was a GA. So kind of an interesting matchup. Let's talk a little bit more about Michigan's offense against the New Mexico defense, which was terrible last year, worse than 125th or 125th or worse in the country in every major statistical category on defense. And the thing that stuck out to me the most when studying this team and what they have this year, they're supposed to be improved, but you can't get much worse from worse than 125th. The defensive line is extremely small. They moved 2 edge rushers into defensive tackle who are now going to start on the interior. Average weight of their defensive line, their front 4, is 249 pounds. And that's kind of why I'm like, all right, well, if we see this Michigan offensive line dominate, as they should. I'm not going to take too much stock in it. Now we'll see what my overreaction is on Monday. Stay tuned for that. But it shouldn't be, we shouldn't read too much into it unless, as you said, Chris, the negatives come in and then you're like, all right, well, there's a huge problem here because this small D-line is getting after him. Now maybe one of these quick guys will get past him at one point or the other. But I'm watching the O-line a lot. All eyes are on Bryce Underwood in his debut. I think he should play well in this game, but he'll get those first game jitters out of the way too, and maybe that leads to a mistake or two. But your guys' thoughts on this Michigan offense, and maybe I want to see some of the weapons shine as well. The wide receiving core. I think a lot of people would be watching how good they are, how improved they've become.
Yeah, and I kind of touched on this, in my last segment here. It is about the offensive line, and you want to see them clean. And Bryce Underwood, I want to see a passing game that shows a pulse, right? Compared to last year when it was just absolutely abysmal. There's no way it's not going to be better. So I want to see how these receivers do on contested catches, right? I want to see if they're getting separation against guys that they'd better be getting separation against. Otherwise, they're going to have a problem with other teams. So I want to see Channing Goodwin. I liked him in the spring, and I thought, okay, I'm pretty impressed here with this kid. And now he rises up to becoming a starter. Fred Moore, everybody thought was going to be that third guy. Channing Goodwin's that guy, but these guys have to make the contested catches. And talking to people in the building, they say the same thing. That's what's really going to prove how much better this receiving core is. Can they get open, and can they catch the ball when there are tough catches to be made? We haven't seen a ton of those recently. So, but Bryce Underwood, I don't think they're going to run him as much, fellas. I want to see what he does if things break down, if he's patient in the pocket, if he is willing to stay in the pocket and get through his reads and rather than bail early, which you would probably expect of a true freshman. So those are a couple other things I'll be watching. I want to see some home runs from the backs. I want to see some really big chunk plays against this defense, and where they're not getting hit in the backfield like they were on just about every play last year. Even in that Alabama game, again, I keep hearing about how much better the offensive line was in that game, and then I go back and watch, and there were Alabama defenders in that backfield a ton that Jordan Marshall had to shake just to get back to the line of scrimmage or to get 3-4 yards. So I want to see him making his move at times 3 or 4 yards across the line of scrimmage, or 2 or 3, and having it a little bit easier. So those are the things I will be watching for. I will be watching to see how much zone versus gap scheme, right, that Chip Lindsey might be playing and running. I want to see how many RPOs he runs and just how this offense is going to look. To me, that's exciting. This is obviously a guy with experience. Kirk Campbell, I thought, got kind of a raw deal last year just because of the personnel, right? I'm not saying he did a great job. He didn't have a quarterback. He didn't have receivers. He didn't have offensive line. Good luck moving the ball with anything, lacking in any of those areas, let alone all of them. But I do want to see what Lindsey brings. I think he's going to be really, really good here.
Yeah, for me, it's how far along is Bryce Underwood? Most of the time, teams that are pretty advanced in their offensive install will have about 95% of their stuff in before the year. I think with having a freshman quarterback, you're probably closer to that like 70, 75, 80% range. And you're focusing on the things that he does well, because to a certain extent, like, you want to make it easy for him. You want to spoon feed him some throws to get him some confidence, get him in that rhythm. And, I've seen a lot of people say, oh, Michigan needs to throw the ball 40 times and take a bunch of shots down the field and get him as many reps as possible. And I think for me, what I'm most interested in seeing is how he does in the bread and butter area, which would be, 10 to 20 yards, kind of those intermediate throws. I think back to, no disrespect, no shade to Jack Tuttle. I don't think he should have been playing in this game or playing at all last year in hindsight, but you look back at that Illinois game and, all the throws behind Colston Loveland in the intermediate and all the missed throws that they missed in, those play action kind of shots. It's been their bread and butter over the years. So I think I'm looking for those type of things to look somewhat painless, and you sort of be impressed by how painless it looks. You want to see, Brady. The big talking point this week when we talk about the offensive line is Brady Norton getting that first nod at right guard. And, if you're telling me he's playing against a light defensive line and a defense that's full of FCS up transfers, well, he is an FCS up transfer. So relative to that, I think the ingredients could be in play for him to have a nice first showing. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's everything we've talked about. How crisp does it look? the missed assignments. I can live with mistakes if you take some risks down the field as well. But overall, I just want to see how far along this thing is because, freshman quarterback and new offensive coordinator, both of those things don't happen very often. So this is essentially a new offense from the ground up, and I'm excited to see where they're at.
Yeah, and to defend Brady Norton for a second, he is an FCS up transfer to Michigan, whereas those guys are FCS up transfers
right
to New Mexico. And Brady Norton beat out a 4-star from Georgia, to win this job, and we'll see how that competition goes. I know you weren't slighting him at all. I'm just kind of giving him a little but that is an interesting dynamic. He's going against a lot of those types of guys in this game, and yeah, it's kind of interesting. You mentioned the new OC for Michigan, new quarterback. They're playing their first two opponents have an offensive coordinator and quarterback who have worked together before, but at a different school. So they have kind of the leg up in some of that continuity. But Michigan can certainly win this one and then go down to Oklahoma and win as well. But just kind of an interesting kind of tidbit there. Let's move over to the Michigan defense. But before we do, we have to talk about our sponsor that is back, Gametime. Football season's back. Tailgating season is back. Take the stress out of buying tickets with Gametime. Gametime is the official ticketing partner of the Wolverine podcast. It's the best place to buy tickets, and the Gametime guarantee means you can trust you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. I've used Gametime in the past. I know, Anthony, you've used it. Tigers, Lions games, concerts, shows, all of that. You can use the Gametime app. My favorite feature, you click on a seat that you're looking at. You can see the view from where it is at the big house. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see that feature right now. Gametime has the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and more. They have the lowest price guarantee, or they'll credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code ON3, that's ON in the numeral 3, ON3 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code ON3 for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Gametime app today. We mentioned Jack Lane is the quarterback for Idaho was for Idaho, transferred to New Mexico this year. Started the first 7 games at Idaho last year. We mentioned had a couple touchdowns in the game against Oregon. Completed 64.5% of his passes for 1,472 yards, 14 touchdowns, 7 games, gets hurt. Kind of reminds me of Mikey Keene. Now, Sean Ryder of the Albuquerque Journal, who covers New Mexico, described him like this. He says he doesn't make a lot of mistakes, throws with accuracy and touch. His arm isn't super strong, but he's got outstanding football IQ, knows this offense in and out after playing in it for the last few years. I don't know if he has a huge day, especially against this defense, but I'm not expecting a meltdown under center so long as New Mexico can protect him. That's the challenge, right, for the Michigan defensive front. Get after this guy. Get after their offensive line that has only one returning starter. Again, some FCS up transfers come in there. Another guy who was a backup last year will be their starting left tackle. So we shall see how the Michigan defense flies around. I expect the front seven to be pretty disruptive and dominant. And if they're not, then the concerns come. If they're dominant like we expect them to, you check a box, you move on to a bigger task next week against an Oklahoma team that the question mark for them is offensive line. So I guess maybe you should play well then too. But you're just wanting to see exactly what you think you should see out of this defensive line. And then the rest of the defense for it to kind of come together, be on the same page, no missed assignments, things like that.
Yeah, I think he's going to be seeing ghosts by the end of the game, and I don't think that Michigan's going to be showing a whole lot in terms of their exotic blitz packages and some of the things that they'll be doing with their linebackers against Oklahoma. Because why? Why put it on film and give them something to prepare for, surprise them next week when you're going to need it, right? So I want to see those guys winning their battles up front. I'm guessing you're going to see probably some max protection at times, and hoping that they give Lane a little bit more time to throw, and in which case the secondary will be tested a little bit more. Obviously, the best thing for a secondary to help them out obviously is a pass rush. So it's going to be interesting to see how these guys hold up if Michigan isn't bringing the house, if they aren't getting pressure. But I suspect we're going to see a lot of pressure, especially from the edges in this game. I think Derek Moore and TJ Guy are going to be very disruptive. So you don't want them to run the ball, and that's another big thing. You want to see almost no running game from them to the point where they're going to have to exclusively pass, and I think that's what we are going to see. I think Michigan's advantage up front, even without Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant, is such that they're going to have a hard time running the ball. So I can't wait to see how these guys play together. We've heard great things about them all fall, how fast they are. The big concern is that second, third corner. So will they be tested? I think they will. I think you'll see them try to throw some balls over their heads. You're not going to have Rod Moore most likely until at least week 2. So how does some of those young safeties play? And you don't want to see any broken plays, right? If they're going to score, I think it's going to be maybe a broken play by the defensive missed assignment, or a deep ball over their head that gets them into field goal range. So that's why I picked Michigan to win 37-3 instead of 37-0. All it takes is one play, fellas, and we've seen it so many times. It's tough to pitch a shutout against anybody, but very confident that this defense will hold up well against this New Mexico offense.
I'm confident too, and it's a reason I'll give my staff pick in a little bit when we get to that part. But
yeah, I was gonna say, let's not everybody just start throwing them out there.
Yeah, we don't want to jump the shark here. The Wink Martindale defense is, as good as it was at the end of last year. We still saw most of the year that every once in a while, because of how aggressive that he likes to play it, there could be a broken play where all of a sudden, one play later, and all of a sudden you're playing defense in field goal range. So I could see a couple of those taking place. Whenever you have these coaches that bring a lot of players with them, there's familiarity there. It's not exactly like it would have been in the past, where you have a new coach taking over and you're kind of inheriting pieces and trying to figure it out from there. So there's some familiarity there. There's some experience there. I think with the, particularly you want to see them overwhelm this team with what we think is much better depth than they had last year. I know they're not going to prove one way or another that they're a better defense or they're a worse defense in a game like this than last year's team. But what you can show is that you have X amount of playable guys. I think, what was it, a couple of years ago, Jesse Minter said they wanted to get 24 or 25 guys in on defense in consequential game snaps. I wouldn't be surprised if this team is able to do that. So similarly to how with the offense, it's more about how good do the pieces look? How deep are you in some of the key areas? I think that's kind of what I'm looking at defensively. The buzz, and Clayton always does a great job with the team preview from the other side of the matchup. They've got a couple good running backs. They're going to rotate those guys, but the ingredients are there for Michigan just completely overwhelm and dominate this team.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's kind of what I was going to say. Their strongest position group is running back. They have Scottre Humphrey, a Montana State transfer who was a second-team FCS All-American last year. Had over 1,300 yards, nearly 1,400 yards, 16 touchdowns, average 7 yards per carry. He's going to rotate with some other guys. They're very thin at wide receiver right now, very banged up. They only have 4 that are healthy enough and good enough to play in this game, according to their head coach, Jason Eck. And they're very deep at tight end as well. And reading some preview stuff from New Mexico, they're running more 12 personnel than some people that have covered the team have seen in a long, long time here. So you're probably going to see multiple tight end sets, which means that Michigan may debut their 3 linebacker set, or maybe we'll see them in less nickel. So don't be surprised if you see a little less of the DBs, which honestly plays to Michigan's strength, right? Anthony, you mentioned, right, if they're really, really deep. I'm doing the math in my head as you were talking. I mean, let's say they have 22 guys that they really trust or whatever it is. Like 14 of them are in the front 7, maybe 15. So that would play to their strengths. Again, not that it really matters. This will get clipped if Michigan loses, 31-30 or something. But we could see some of that. We could see some more of the defensive linemen. They're going to rotate a lot of those guys through, 10 deep on the D-line, 4 deep at linebacker. As Brian Jean-Mary said last week, I believe it was, about Cole Sullivan. Like, he's earned the snaps. He's going to play when it matters. So we're going to see that early in this game. I think the challenge is for Michigan to get up early, make New Mexico one-dimensional, make them throw. They don't have great receiver play. They don't have a lot of receivers. get after the quarterback. It's just kind of that formula, right? You get up as game gets longer and longer. They got to keep throwing, and maybe it's a quick 3 and out. You have the ball back. You can really kind of run up the score here and put up kind of a crooked number on them. But that's kind of it for their offense against the Michigan defense. The Michigan defense probably hasn't been talked about enough this preseason. They're going to do their talking on the field, though, on Saturday night for sure. Let's get to our predictions. Chris's is out there. We'll get it again, though, here in just a second to round it out. But before we do, we have to talk about BetMGM, another new partner at the Wolverine. The Wolverine is teamed up with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for our listeners each week. When you join BetMGM, you get access to a variety of parlay section features like same-game parlays, live betting options, and more. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code ON3, and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app, sign up using bonus code ON3. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use the bonus code ON3 when you sign up. Make this college football season one for the history books. Let's make it legendary. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code ON3. That is ON in the numeral 3, ON3, and get your first $1,500 first bet offer today. Michigan is a 34.5-point favorite. The over-under is 49.5 points. We'll get to our final scores in a second. We're going to talk about our offensive player of the game, predictions, defense, an X factor. I can start on offense with a guy who's making his debut in the big house in a game setting. All eyes are going to be on him. Newcomer to the team, Justice Haynes, the running back, not Bryce Underwood. Maybe he breaks a long run or two. I think, I think that could be in the cards for Justice Haynes, the Alabama transfer running back, on Saturday night.
I think it's a good pick, and I'm going with Jordan Marshall. And either one could, right?
Yeah.
But you know what? If their holes are as big as we hope they are, and Justice Haynes is the home run hitter, and as Tony Alford, the Michigan running back coach, said yesterday, he said, I think Marshall would probably take exception to the fact that Haynes is faster, but he's shown it in practice where he can be that home run guy. Then I think you could absolutely be right. But I think Marshall's just going to grind and grind and grind. I think you have a chance to have 2 100-yard backs in this game, actually. So, but I'm going to go with Marshall. I do think he'll take the first carries, and I think both of them will play a ton. I think you're going to see some of them in the passing game too, which will be exciting to see if a little bit more of that. I've been calling for that for a few years with Donovan Edwards. We didn't get to see a whole lot of it. So, but there will be some, and I do think that Marshall's going to be that guy on Saturday.
My player of the game is Andrew Anthony, actually. So we'll just go
again. Here we go.
No, I'm not. I'm gonna stick with Jordan Marshall. I know typically there's a little more variance there. I don't know who's good at wide receiver outside of Donovan McCulley, and Bryce Underwood is too basic an answer right now. I think when we talk 1A and 1B, though, I think Jordan Marshall is the 1A, and I think that I just think he fits the mentality of this program to a T. So I'll go with Jordan Marshall.
Anthony, kick us off. We'll go the other way around for defensive player of the game.
Defensive player of the game, I think, will be a guy that eventually winds up leading the team in sacks, and that's TJ Guy. I think Rayshon Benny gets a lot of attention. Derek Moore gets a lot of attention and will get a lot of attention from opposing offensive lines. That's going to open him up to be maybe not even second fiddle. Maybe he's the lead dog in terms of production there. But TJ Guy, he's going to have a couple sacks tomorrow night.
That's my pick.
Or Saturday night.
Yep, that's my pick as well. I think TJ Guy is going to eat. I think you're going to see him come out, and I think people are sleeping on him. And I know that he's gotten a lot of attention from the Michigan coaches and stuff, but around the country, people don't really know about him. I think TJ Guy is going to have a big game on Saturday night.
I have it written down here. It's TJ Guy for me, but I'll switch it up because you guys have it. Great pick. I was thinking about it. It just does feel like a TJ Guy game, and also feels like I just picture him at the post-game press conference sitting there after a big game for some reason. But I'm going to go Jayshon Barham, a guy who probably won't be at the post-game press conference because we haven't talked to him yet. He seems to a team that's like he's just going to be the most intimidating guy in the entire stadium. Unless something crazy happens, it's going to be 107,000 people. He'd be the one guy you don't want to mess with in that stadium, and they're going to have to deal with him all night long. So I'm going to go with Jayshon Barham at the linebacker spot, who could have a pretty breakout season for the Wolverines this year. I'll start off with my X factor, who I think is Brandon Hillman, who had the quote of the week, maybe the quote of the year, talking about New Mexico and how he's going to flip the switch from fall camp practice, to where he kind of protects his teammates, doesn't hit too hard, but is still kind of laying the wood a little bit to the game. And he said this week, they got the same colors as effing Ohio State, and he more or less said that. I'd say he more said that. But I think he's going to have he's going to lay the wood a little bit on Saturday. He's going to have some big hits.
He probably got a talking to after that. So
good though.
Yeah. This is a great question when you're talking about X factors. Are we talking on defense or offense or either?
Anything.
Okay. You know what? I think Samaj Morgan is going to have a game, and everybody's talking about Donovan McCulley, and I have not been sold on Samaj, but there have been times going back and watching film last year when he was absolutely open and they couldn't get the ball to him. Right. So, and I think they're going to be using him a little bit differently than they were. He had a really good weekend last weekend. People who were watching were there and said that he really played well and had some opportunities in the pass game. I think you're going to see him have a nice game on Saturday, and that'd be great if they can get a number 2 established guy.
I got you on board with Samaj Morgan. I just got to get you on board with Marlon Klein, and then my agenda will be complete. I'm going to stick at wide receiver with a true freshman. I'm going to go with Andrew Marsh. He's won one of the starting returner jobs. I for a freshman, think back to a couple of these return battles they've had over the years where they were just looking to have guys back there that were capable of fielding the football, putting their arm up, and just living for another play. I think it's pretty impressive that a true freshman's coming in. Granted, he came in the winter, but they trust this guy, and they trust he could do some things with the ball in his hand in the open field. And I think if he has a good showing on special teams, that could lend itself to some more snaps in a wide receiver room that, outside of McCulley and to a certain extent Samaj Morgan, there's still a lot of fluidity there. I think he's going to play some consequential game snaps on offense, probably early, sooner rather than later. So I'll go with Andrew Marsh.
I like it. I think it's a great spot to put a true freshman in, right? Get him the ball, get him a little confidence. It's low stakes unless you fumble the football. You got to take care of the ball. But other than that, not a ton riding on it and some upside to it. All right. Final score predictions for Michigan, New Mexico. Chris, say yours again.
Yep, 37-3. Everybody's thinking, well, if they don't get in the 40s, they're in trouble. No, it has nothing to do with that. It's going to be a shorter game. They're not going to be looking to pile on. They're not going to be up tempo or anything like that. So it's going to be methodical. They're going to wear them down with the run game, and 37-3 would be a nice start.
I have 37-6 for all of those reasons. Now I do have a grievance to air really fast. We send Chris our staff predictions, so he gets to look at all of our predictions and then decide what he's going to do. Mm-hmm. I feel like he's attempting to snipe us here because Clayton, you're a point away from me too. So
I know.
Hey, I know you didn't see my pick, but
I don't take it that seriously. And as a matter of fact, I come up with my pick before I get your picks just for that reason. So, and then of course, that's
I'd like
my
to
story.
See proof of that.
That's my story.
Well, as Nick Saban said before the Rose Bowl, integrity in the game is important.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's exactly what he said.
Yeah, he can kiss my ass too about that. So, Nick Saban, of all people, saying that. How funny is that? So, but yeah, honestly, no. I make my own picks, and yep. So that's, and I like this one. I don't think they're going to. I really think this defense is going to smother them.
I got 38-6, as Anthony said. I'm a point away from him. Michigan, of course, winning the game. BetMGM, perusing it this morning. I don't mind Michigan minus 7.5 in the first quarter if they get up. I think maybe quick stop, couple quick scores, something like that. Get down on them. Yeah, I don't think it'll be anything too crazy, but we could see some big plays. I think the defense will hold. And a lot of the points that are scored could potentially come from Michigan's backups in garbage time, allowing some of them, like in a couple of years ago, the backups kept blowing those shutouts. So, you could see that's what people are like, well, how could you predict New Mexico to get 10 points or whatever? It's like, you don't know how those 10 points are going to come. It could be some fluke, broken play, whatever. Football happens, but those are our predictions for the game. Now we move on to our final segment as we wrap up here. No man knows the future. We are picking week 1 college football games. It's a loaded slate. I love to be able to say that. And it starts tonight on Thursday. Some of you are listening after, so you know if we were dead wrong or if we got this right. But we'll start with one game from Thursday night, move on to Saturday, and we even have a Sunday game. But Nebraska against Cincinnati at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. I believe that's Missouri. Nebraska's 6.5-point favorite. Over-unders 51.5. 9 p.m. on ESPN tonight. These two teams have not played since 1906. I have Cincinnati covering the 6.5. What do you guys have?
I have really missed this rivalry. Yeah, I would say
John Borton loved it back in 06.
I was waiting for somebody to say it. Nebraska, I was going to go with Nebraska. I think they're going to be improved this year. I think they're going to get good quarterback play. I really hope they don't, but that's going to be a tough game for Michigan this year on the road. So I like Nebraska to cover.
Well, this is a wish fulfillment game for Dylan Raiola, who claims he doesn't pattern himself after Patrick Mahomes. Doesn't, despite wearing the same jersey and having the same hairstyle and literally all of the mannerisms. Now he gets a chance to kind of air it out for a new look offense in Patrick Mahomes' stadium. I think Nebraska will win this game somewhat comfortably. This isn't Luke Fickle's Cincinnati anymore. But then again, it's also Matt Rule's Nebraska, and it is Nebraska in general. So maybe they will disappoint. But I do have Nebraska covering.
The game of the week, number 1, Texas at number 3, Ohio State. Ohio State, 1.5-point favorite, over under 47.5, noon on Fox. Steve Sarkisian will be there. Brian Hartline is going to be there. New offensive coordinator. Matt Patricia, former Detroit Lions head coach, will be there. Dave Portnoy will not be there because he's banned from Ohio Stadium, apparently. I tend to believe his side of the story.
He's not. Yes, he is. No, he's not. Yes, he is.
And
everyone's I'll just say this: if they're going to if they're banning him, we're pretty close to being next.
Oh, so. We're screwed. Come on. Let's go. What do you guys have for this game? I'll give mine after you guys.
Go ahead first, Anthony. This time.
Yeah, I'm going with Texas in this game. It's basically a pick 'em, so really you're just going one way or the other. I actually think there's a good chance, very good chance, the over hits, especially. We're talking about Steve Sarkisian in a chess match with Matt Patricia. Texas is going to score points. Will Ohio State be able to score more points and push this into the 50s? I think they will, but Texas just has a little bit more. And Ohio State, they're gonna learn what it feels like to lose some key pieces from a title team.
Yeah, I agree that I'm with you, Anthony. I think that Texas is going to score a lot. I think that Texas is. I just think they're a better football team. So Ohio State did lose a lot. I think they have 6 returning starters total on this team or something like that. So
it helps to have the 2 best players.
It does
in college football.
But at the same time, we saw what can happen if you can take one of them out of the game, right? And Ryan Day being that guy that took his best player out of the game last year. So, but there are ways to. I think there are ways to give him added attention, and I really do like. I like Texas in this game, not just because Ohio State is a bunch of you-know-whats.
You can take Jeremiah Smith out of the game. Wink, wink. I have Texas as well. I bet this in the summer at Texas +3 over on BetMGM. It's now Texas +1.5. Still love it, obviously. But some better odds that you got. But people are starting to come around. Like neutral field, Texas would be the favorite, and you can kind of take that crowd out of it if you're able to score. And I agree with you guys. I think Texas is going to be able to score. They got Arch Manning coming back. He was a backup in the past, but he started before. Texas has some question marks, but they're number 1 in the country. They got a new O-line, new secondary, but I'll take Texas to win this football game.
And these people barely celebrated their national title during the offseason. So the second they go 3 and out in their first offensive drive of the game, morale in that building is going to go low because they're extremely bipolar, extremely angry people.
And sad. I mean, their big national championship they lost this year in the offseason, right? The one that really mattered to them, the asterisk and the hammer, didn't happen. So, But hey, you know what? You still have that fourth place finish in the Big Ten and that cute little natty from last year to hang your hat on.
Oh, there's such a great punching bag. I love it. The next game, which will be going on during Michigan at New Mexico, is number 9 LSU at number 4 Clemson. Clemson, a 4-point favorite, over under 57.5. Again, 7:30 on ABC. So if you got two screens, I'm sure this will be one of them. In addition to the Michigan game, LSU's lost their last 5 season openers, which is insane. They always challenge themselves. Right? They've played some tough matchups. Two really experienced quarterbacks on each side. I picked LSU in our magazine to win the national championship, so I'm just going to ride with it. I'm going to be all in this year on Brian Kelly, which does not feel great.
I got a feeling LSU is going to win this football game, and I don't really know why. It's funny, but I do think Brian Kelly's a good coach, right? And it's going to be a great atmosphere. But for some reason, my gut's telling me LSU is going to win this football game. So I like them not just to cover, but to win.
It'll be 6 in a row for LSU. I'm riding with Cade Klubnik. I'm riding with Clemson. I picked Clemson to win the national title. And shout out to Scott Bell. He had us submit picks for his roundtable this week. I picked Clemson to win it all in that, and I don't feel any reason to defend that from here.
A clash of our two national title picks going at it. So you're confirmed not on the Nuss bus. I get it. Garrett Nussmeier for LSU.
I haven't been on the Nussmeier bandwagon in over a decade.
The whole family.
Reasons.
Yeah. This game, very fun. Utah at UCLA. Utah 5.5-point favorite, over under 51.5. 11 p.m. on Fox. Pac-12 after dark is back. Nico Iamaleava, his debut for UCLA. I do have UCLA covering the 5.5 at the Rose Bowl.
Interesting. I like Utah. I like their coach. I like that team. I think that Utah rolls, as a matter of fact, out there at the Rose Bowl. And I can't wait to get home just in time to watch the last minute and a half of that football game after we're done writing in the press.
Hopefully it goes to overtime, honestly.
Yeah, please. 4 overtimes, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Utah's going to stick them in a trash can and kick them down the hill. Whatever those mountains are, those beautiful mountains off of the distance.
Arroyo Seco, isn't it? What they call the Arroyo Seco?
I forget. They're gorgeous, though. I just bad vibes around UCLA. I think their coach is a bit of a space cadet. Nico has been an NIL circus since he was a high school recruit. I think that's going to blow up in their face. So give me Utah.
The San Gabriel Mountains.
However, the Arroyo Seco is, and there's something about the Arroyo Seco in there as you come over a hill and you see the Arroyo Seco. So that might be one mountain in the range of mountains. I don't know. We'll have to look it up and we'll let you know on the next podcast, because I'm sure that everybody will be waiting with bated breath.
Yeah. Sunday night, we have some college football as well. Number 6 Notre Dame at number 10 Miami. Notre Dame a 2.5-point favorite on the road, over under 49.5 at Hard Rock Stadium. 7:30 p.m. on ABC just before Labor Day. Maybe I'm just buying stock. Like, everyone's down on Nico. Everyone's down on, maybe not Nussmeier as much. Everyone's down on Carson Beck because what? He dated a Cavender, broke up with her, moved to Miami, bought a Lamborghini. So what? A lot of people in Miami have done a lot worse. I'm taking the Canes.
A lot of people in Miami have done the exact same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty common, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe not the Cavender part.
If I were in Miami, well, I wouldn't be doing that. But I am taking Miami, and as Bo would say, to hell with Notre Dame. I like Miami to cover and to win this football game.
I'm going to go with Notre Dame. I don't trust Miami in any context. They're right in the class with, the Nebraskas, the Texas A&Ms of the world, where there's always hype on them and then it goes unfulfilled. So, I'm going to go with Notre Dame. And then, what an interesting first 2 weeks for Notre Dame, by the way. They play 2 of those teams that I just mentioned at Miami, and then they're on a bye, then they host Texas A&M. So just fraud versus fraud versus fraud first few weeks of the season, I guess.
0-2 would be lovely.
That would be great. Probably knock them out of the playoff. I'm so excited for college football. We had a little week 0 appetizer, but now we got even more, maybe a second course here tonight with Thursday night. And then the real deal Saturday and Sunday. Excited for that. Michigan, New Mexico, Follow us over at thewolverine.com. We'll have all of your game coverage from the big house, the whole team there. 5 of us. Ethan McDowell on the sidelines, Johnny Borton up with us in the press box. We are pumped. Head to thewolverine.com. Use promo code UM1 for 2 months of access for $1. Like the video on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you hopefully on Saturday.